Bohol and Davao, no other than Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa.
Yes, the
And also,
hardworking.
Mr. President,
Sponsor.
to interpolate, Mr. President, is the distinguished lady from the city of Taguig and Pateros, no other than Senator Pia Cayetano. So move, Mr. President.
Our distinguished colleague, also from the city of Taguig, is recognized to interpret.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, Mr. President, with the permission of the sponsor, as I mentioned to him in the lounge, I just really have a few clarificatory questions and maybe not really on the provisions, really just clarificatory questions. So with the permission of the sponsor, Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. President, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I am referring to the salient features of the substitute bill, which is part of the submission under the committee report. And it states here that the objective is as follows. The bill seeks to address the current loopholes in the country's criminal justice system by ensuring systematized representation in the police force. What does that mean, Mr. President? Systematized representation. How is that shown in the bill? Because I read the bill, Mr. President, and we understand that there are certain powers given to the PNP, the chief, and then there's the creation of different units. But we are not clear on how this systematized representation, which I believe is a very important objective.
Well, Mr. President, we aim to systematize everything in this bill because previously yung sources of legislation na pinanggalingan ay merong galing sa Napolcom, merong galing sa iba-iba pong sources, Mr. President. So, gusto natin isahin through this measure.
What does His Honor mean by sources? Are you referring reference material or are you referring to the recruited?
Law, Mr. President. Law, Mr. President, Your Honor.
So what His Honor is saying that this So what His Honor is saying is the objective of this bill is to consolidate various laws governing the PNP?
Mr. President, 1 minute suspension.
Session suspended.
The term systematized representation in the police forces because this is not there is no mention about this in the bill itself.
Yun nga po, Mr. President,
yun
kaya
nga,
ako
Mr. President,
tinatanong.
kaya nga kami nagdedebate dito dahil wala naman talaga, there's no mention about this in the bill.
But it's a great objective. Would His Honor agree?
Yeah, it's a good objective, Mr. President, Your Honor. It's a great objective. Magandang objective po ito. But I found it very difficult to defend this particular line because nothing in this bill that says about this objective. So para bang pwede, anyway, this is not part and parcel of the bill. Parang introductory wordings lang ito.
Okay lang, Mr. President, I
Yeah.
can move on.
Yes,
but,
thank you, Mr.
But
President.
if His Honor will agree that this is a good, it does express the intention na magkaroon ng systematized representation in the police force, different approach in recruitment process that will ensure strategized delivery of service in order to promote general welfare, institute safeguards, and other mechanisms to eliminate graft and corruption. If that objective still captures the essence of this bill, then I will still proceed even though that phrase is not present in the bill.
Certainly, Mr. President, Your Honor, you can proceed, please.
So ang next line kasi is different approach in recruitment. So I was really interested in that kasi my understanding, na ako na lang magbibigay ng sarili kong understanding of systematized representation, and I'm pretty sure it's limited kasi nanggaling po yan sa mga experts nyo. But my limited understanding would be tatagalugin ko, di magkakaroon ng sistema to ensure na meron tayong representation from all over the country. Naisip ko, not just sa gender, which is what I told His Honor na yun ang particular line of interest ko, to be sure na magkaroon ng representation ng kababaihan. And how will you go about that recruitment process? Will you go to the schools telling them that the PNP is going to provide a bright future for you? Ganun ba yun? Kasi hindi ko alam kung yun ang ibig sabihin nun. And then, baka the representation also means that they will recruit from all over the country so that those from the north and the south, you will have a united PNP. Di ba nare-reassign po kayo, Mr. President? Is that correct? Di ba that's part of it? So, whether ikaw ay taga Ilocos at ma-assign ka sa Davao and vice versa, united ang ang training and ang yung moral nyo, isa yan. And it will help nga itong ensure the general welfare, institute safeguards, and other mechanisms. So
Yes,
that,
Mr. President.
tama ba yun yung intindi
That's
mo?
correct, Madam, Your Honor, Mr. President. You're correct. Actually, the PNP just follow one program of instruction in all its trainings, regardless of what region is conducting the training, Mr. President. Isa lang po yung program of instruction na sinusunod natin.
But on that note, I have an issue with that because although I understand na iisa, would there already be modifications that would address the different backgrounds of your recruits such that it's possible that in certain regions, talagang equal ang tingin nila sa kababaihan. And then it's possible in certain regions with different cultures, mababa ang tingin nila sa babae. So hindi pa pwedeng one kind of instruction only because kailangan maiba ang pananaw nung nire-recruit nyo sa lugar na yon to be sure that they're following the Philippine principle of equality among women. Kasi paano kung magkaroon tayo ng general na hindi katulad nyo, na galing sa South pero hindi open-minded on the ability of a woman to rise through the ranks and to be a co-equal how many star general, or they will not treat the women with the same kind of respect and provide the support system needed para makaangat din sila through the ranks.
Well, actually, Mr. President, Your Honor, right now, I can proudly say that the PNP is a very mature organization as far as gender issues is concerned. Lahat po ng programa tungkol lahat po ng mga batas patungkol sa gender ay ino-observe po ng PNP. Like for example, the observance of Republic Act number 6725, Republic Act 7192, the Magna Carta for Women Act. Lahat po ito in-observe ng PNP, Mr. President, Your Honor. At yung general policy po yan sa recruitment ng PNP that there should be at least 10% of the recruits are women, and 5% of the budget of the PNP is dedicated for gender development. Mr. President, Your Honor.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Mr. President. I will revert with a quick comment on the percentage, no? Yung nabanggit niyo po is 15%, ang minimum of 15% yung goal, no?
For the recruitment.
For the recruitment.
But right now, Mr. President, Your Honor, the actual strength of PNP is that the ratio is 1 woman, 2 women per 10 men in the PNP.
That's 20%.
So 20%.
Oo.
20%.
But tama ho ba yung assumption ko that there would be areas in the organization na mas maraming babae at meron ding mas konti?
Yes, Mr. President, Your Honor, particularly on the area of administrative services,
Okay.
mas maraming babae doon kaysa lalaki.
How about health? Kasi
Health
kung marami
also.
kayong nurse, chances are mas maraming babae. Marami ding nurse na lalaki, but chances are mas malaki ang, di ba, no?
Yes,
Okay. So, let's accept that there are areas that naturally inclined ang kababaihan doon. Maybe because since childhood, they were, yung mindset nila is administrative work, no? So may mga accountant dyan, may mga bookkeeper, whatever. And then sa health din, madalas pumapasok dyan as nurses. I have no issue with that. But again, we want to ensure that all areas, so that's the clear answer I want to hear, all areas, unless it's a hazard to a woman, and I also respect and understand that because like in the airline industry, I'm not sure after what month of pregnancy, tatanggalin ka na sa duty mo as a flight attendant, no? And that's for the safety of the woman. So, I am very conscious of that, and I would want to make sure that PNP takes into consideration the special biological functions of a woman. But on that note, meron ding efforts to ensure that may opportunity din ang mga babae to enter all fields.
Yes, Mr. President. First of all, I would like to answer regarding the issue on yung sa women, Mr. President, I would like to assure you that there is no prohibition for women to enter in any field of the PNP or any subunits of the PNP. So, kuan po, equal po ang opportunity ng isang babae at isang lalaki sa lahat ng unit na gusto niyang mapuntahan. In fact, yung the most difficult unit, the Special Action Force, marami pong babae doon ngayon na naka-assign. So, may equal opportunity na po, Mr. President, Your
Yes.
Honor.
Thank you. But Mr. President, may I ask His Honor to assure me that the leadership of PNP knows that having no prohibition is not the same as having equal opportunity. Yung no prohibition simply means, hindi naman nakalakampin to pumasok ka kung gusto mo. But what if you don't have access? You don't even know the hallway that leads to that door. You don't know if you are welcome in that door. Yun naman ho ang sa akin. I have had experiences where I have felt unwelcome. And yun ang point na kailangan clear sa leadership. Iba yung no prohibition, iba yung you are welcome. Here are the skill sets you need. Here is the training we will give you so that you can have the opportunity. Because baka yung pinagdaanan mo sa 4-year course mo, did not equip you. Bigyan ka namin ng extra para magka-opportunity ka talaga to enter that door, whatever that door is.
What I mean when I say no prohibition, Mr. President, Your Honor, is that mahirap rin kasi kung gagawa tayo na kailangan dito babae o ito lalaki. Itong male-dominated na unit, like Special Action Force, sabihin natin na itong position ito dapat babae. Kasi ang binibigyan rin natin yung chance yung individual female policeman na to exercise her own free will na kung gusto niya pumasok, okay. Kung ayaw niya, hindi siya pinipilit na pumasok. So, ganun pong ibig sabihin natin doon, Mr. President, Your Honor, na walang prohibition. Kung gusto niyo, welcome kayo. Welcome kayo sa lahat na gusto niyong pasukan dito sa organisasyon ng PNP.
Mr. President, I appreciate your candidness in your response, but I believe there is still either hindi ko naiintindihan or meron talagang gap in what is being practiced and what should be practiced. Because, for example, I'm an athlete, and I am certain, with all due respect, I can outrun most of my male colleagues in a running event now. Okay, I'm certain. And it's not because I'm a superwoman or anything, but I'm a runner kasi. Yun lang naman yun, runner ako. Take note, I didn't say bike kasi hindi ko na ma-outbike si Senator JV kasi kakabike lang yan ng 200 kilometers. So I didn't say bike. But run, baka I will outrun most of my colleagues. So on that note, pag nakita ng CO, tama ba, commanding officer, nakita niya na, tindi ng skills ng babaeng to tapos pala, meron pala siyang background din patry out nyo nga dito sa kung ano man division yun na hindi lang yung it's open. You have to seek them out and see what opportunities can really be applied to women who may be suited for those other positions that are predominantly male. Because if you just announce it's open, it's not enough for us. I'm telling you, I am an accomplished female. But there are doors that have been very hard for me to open because they are traditionally for men.
Well, yeah, actually, Mr. President, it has been a practice of the PNP. Yung sinasabi mo na mag-encourage, mag-recruit, mag-motivate ng mga female na pumasok sa ganitong particular fields. Like for example, I will give you an example. Nung ako si PNP na nakita ko yung mga babae na magagaling magmotor. Sabihan ko siya, uy, why don't you join the highway patrol
That's
group?
what I wanted to hear, Mr. President.
Yeah, magaling ka
That's
magmotor.
the example. Yun, we're done. I'm done. I'm ready to move on with the next question. That's all I needed to hear, Mr. President.
Yes, kasi ang gusto naman talaga natin, maximum and optimized utilization of resources.
Exactly.
So, kailangan gamitin natin yung kanilang special skill.
So may I ask for your picture with a female motorcycle PNP plastered all over the PNP offices? That is now going to be the reminder that look out for these women with with these particular skills and invite them like what you said. Uy, magaling yan, sumama ka. That's what I wanted to hear. That's all. I'm really happy with that response. Thank you.
Mr.
And that's why I
President.
know, sabi ko, teka, hindi lang tayo nagkakaintindihan because I know the sponsor, Mr. President. I know him to be the kind of person who will look for these opportunities. But I wanted to elicit that response so that the whole PNP organization will hear this. And this debate that we're having will go on record for eternity. Ito yung hinahanap ko.
Yes,
Thank you
Mr.
for that,
President.
Mr.
You're
President. So, I will end actually by just saying, yun lang, Mr. President.
Thank you.
I will end by simply saying that the committee I chair, Sustainable Development, Innovation, and Futures Thinking, I want that embedded in the culture and in the institution. And the only way it can happen, Mr. President, is that meron kayong offices who are in charge of this. Why is sustainability and futures thinking so important? His Honor will recall that on a few occasions, we have had the discussion on what will the future challenges be on peace and order? We've had this discussion, remember? Ano ba ang nagiging cause ng mga problema natin? Na ngayon, may petty thefts tayo dahil nanakawin yung cellphone para mabenta kasi gutom ang pamilya. Malamang yon, di ba? Baka naman drug addict din talaga yon na kahit na may pagkain yung pamilya niya, drug addict siya, bibili pala siya ng drugs, hindi pala pagkain para sa pamilya niya. But why do these crimes happen? The example I'll give is scarcity of water. So that is a security issue. Di ba, napag-usapan natin yan. Security issues of the future, lack of food, lack of water, including our problems with West Philippine Seas because that's a source. Sabi nyo nga, resources. Diyan nanggagaling yung isla natin. So, I want the future problems that the PNP will face to be embedded in their thinking and in their planning. What kind of crimes do you foresee in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years? How do you equip your police force for that? Now, it's very possible that maybe a lot of the women, for that matter, maybe a lot of men, ang mas may skill sa whether it's IT or itong futures thinking practice would be the one to prepare PNP for that future. So, babalik ako dun sa unang tanong ko na ano yung systematized representation na gusto nyo that will ensure strategized delivery of service in order to promote general welfare, institute safeguards, and other mechanisms to eliminate graft and corruption, etc., etc. Babalik din ako doon. So, maybe at the proper time, I will be happy to make those proposals. But I would appreciate it very much if the leadership in PNP would already be, you can already assure me that they are open to all of this, to really be addressing the problems of the future by way of having a possible futures thinking team, which, by the way, this representation has included in already a number of departments in the Philippine government. We have a futures thinking and sustainable office in the following: DepEd, DOH, NEDA. So I think it should also be part of the PNP institution, Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. President, Your Honor, the PNP is open to that idea.
Yeah.
And it is a welcome idea to the PNP. Yes.
Our chairman of the Committee on Basic Ed and of course our head of our EDCOM committee reminded me that we have a budget in every state, university, and college. It's a futures thinking budget. So I can also ask PNP to go to any state university and partner with them. And for that matter, meron din ang DAP. And you can send people there to be educated on futures thinking. You can partner with these SUCs for research on what you should be preparing for. And let's, again, maximize our resources, Mr. President. I end on that note, Mr. President. I, of course, support this measure and whatever we can do to strengthen our PNP and provide the support that our institution needs to do their job at their best in the best possible way. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President, Your Honor. Maraming salamat.
Thank you very much,
Yes.
Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President, there being no member who wishes to interpolate, I move that we close the period of interpellations and debate. So move, Mr. President.
Congratulations to our dear sponsor for a job well done and for the patience of everyone, including the members who interpolated. There being no objection, motion is approved.
Mr. President, before I move for a minute suspension, Mr. President, may I just take the opportunity to acknowledge some guests of this representation, our GIP interns from the great province of Bulacan. They represent all the towns of Bulacan who are here today. May I be allowed, Mr. President, to acknowledge all of them this evening. Thank you very much, Mr.
Welcome to
President.
the Senate. Welcome to the Senate.
Thank you very much.
GRPO?
GIP, Mr. President, the Government Internship
GIP.
Program of DOLE, Mr. President.
Government Internship.
So hanggang dito lang tayo mga tol. Maraming salamat sa panonood at patuloy na suporta God bless you sa inyo lahat at hanggang sa muli. Paalam!